All right, hello, everybody. Eagles win. Sirianni just finished up talking, so we're going to react to that. Obviously, Sirianni's decisions in this game were a big topic of conversation, and we're going to get into that. And the Eagles win a wild game. They had like 500 yards of total offense and scored 15 points. And look, before we get into the decisions Sirianni made in this game, which they weren't very good. I generally am on the side of being aggressive, but under the circumstances, I do want to point out the Eagles win the game. They get to 2-1. They go on the road. We talked a lot about this during the radio show all week. The Saints had scored 91 points in 2 games. For the Eagles to shut that down, we said, look, if they can shut their offense down, that would be a huge accomplishment. Their defense gets the game ball. The game ball goes to the defense. They won the game. The defense won the game. It was malpractice to have to be thinking about that the Eagles defense could play that well and potentially lose the game. Jalen Carter, it shows you the impact he can have when the Eagles have him playing at his best. I'm getting a lot of text messages here. I'm just trying to shut my phone down here. But here's the thing. They won a game. Think about this. Forget the decisions that Sirianni makes for a second, right? Forget the decisions that Sirianni makes for a second. They won a game without A.J. Brown on the road. Lane Johnson went out in this game. Mekhi Becton went out in this game. Then Smith goes out in the game. They had to go down and drive the length of the field, or 70 yards, without Brown, Johnson, Becton, and Smith on that last drive, and somehow found a way to score a touchdown. So all the mistakes that they made, Sirianni's decisions, yada, yada, the penalty, the 60-yard field goal, the 2 plays that they try to go for it, man, for them to persevere and come back and win that game on the road in New Orleans, I said, listen, I don't know who was worse, but New Orleans coached that game with no confidence in their players. None. Sirianni, on the other hand, coached the game with a lot of confidence in his players. It just didn't go their way. He makes a lot of decisions with the trust in his players. New Orleans played a very conservative game, conversely, and it didn't work for them. So keep that in mind. Listen, I don't like – you're on the road. Your defense is playing really well. You take the points. Just take the points on a game that the game felt like a game that was going to be ugly. With that in mind, with the game that feels that way, with that in mind, just take the points. And then you go for a 60-yard field goal. Again, Sirianni shows a lot of confidence in his guys. The Saints did not. The Saints just coached that game cowardly, and it cost them. You're at home. And, then they went for it on 4th. They didn't get it. I thought the Saints coaching staff let them down. I think the Eagles coaching staff kept the Saints in the game. I said to my buddy, I texted, I said, the only coaching in the league right now that's been worse than Sirianni is New Orleans. But there's a lot of shout-outs to go in this game. And if you guys are watching, I appreciate it. Hit the like button. Retweet, subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're on YouTube, The Mike Gill Show. Go over there and subscribe, and you can watch us on YouTube. And it's easier to comment if you're on the YouTube channel. I see a lot of people watching on the X platform, which is fine. But if you go to YouTube, you can comment a lot easier, and I can put your comments up on the screen, and we can have some conversation here. But Saquon Barkley, I love the signing. You're seeing why, the explosion, the speed, and what he brings to this offense. I think there's only more to come with him. He's playing behind an offensive line that is far superior to what he had in New York. And this was a second-team offensive line. People forget Tyler Steen and Fred Johnson were playing right guard and right tackle the second half of that game. Britton Covey was out too, by the way. Not a huge factor, you don't think. But you're going to Johnny Wilson. And then Smith goes out. Paris Campbell's in the game. I mean, the other thing we have to address, 2 turnovers, 7 straight games with an interception for Jalen Hurts. You just heard, if you were watching the post game, Sirianni, he's a freaking winner. Hurts is a winner. He might be that winner, but you can't keep turning the ball over. Not 7 interceptions and a fumble. The fumble, I could see it coming from a mile away. I said, oh my God, he's going to fumble this ball. But all of that, they persevered through the injuries. They persevered through some bad decisions by the coaching staff, and somehow won a game on the road in the NFL. I don't know what that means, but we asked you at Mike Gill Show on the X platform to vote, and right now a lot of votes coming in. So let me pull it up and get the latest on it to see where we are with that. Let's see if I can find the poll question. Where is the poll question? That's weird. My Twitter is not updating. Interesting. I don't know why that is. Why is my Twitter not updating? Anyway, the last I saw when people were voting, we also asked you who stood out today. 44% defense, 34% Goddard, 21% Barkley, 1% Hurts. So evidently people were not all that impressed with the game Hurts had. He did play pretty well to deliver that game late in that game. The 2 turnovers, though, will certainly stand out. Dallas Goedert, big part of the offense today. When everybody else went out, Goddard stood up and shined. But the defense gets the game ball. They played great all day long. They got pressure, not sacks, but pressure. The last play of the game where Blankenship gets that interception, I mean, they ripped Derek Carr, absolutely ripped him there. So it was just a huge game. Oh, do you feel good after the Eagles win? That's the question we asked at Mike Gill Show. 51% say yes. Only 49 and 49, only 51% to 49%. So this is like a 50-50 split that the Eagles won the game, and 51% of the people say yes, they feel good after the win. 49 right now say no, and the votes are continuing. We just put it out there on the X platform. So it shows you it's a game that people are less concerned that you won and more concerned with the big picture. Nick Sirianni's decisions. The first decision, people say, what is he doing? It's the analytics, man. The analytics say go for it in that situation. And they went for it. They went tush-push, and then they tried to fake the Saints out, thinking you're going tush-push, and they ran a little sweet play out of the tush-push, and it didn't work. I generally am okay with being aggressive. I generally don't have a problem if you're going to be aggressive. But in that spot, after last week, it just felt that Sirianni was trying to prove a point that I'm not changing what I'm doing regardless. So, by the way, Baltimore 7-3 over here, and they just got a huge play. They're in the red zone with a chance to score. Bad quarterback play all over the league today. Caleb Williams and Anthony Richardson in the same game were awful. Will Levis, horrendous. Bad quarterback play all over the place. All right, Goddard, 10 catches, 170 yards. That's the kind of Goddard that you can get. That's the kind of Goddard that can be a part of this offense. Not 10 for 170 every game, but had some big plays. It was just a crazy, wild game. We're going to be live tomorrow at Ocean Casino, and we're going to be talking more about this. But the Sirianni decisions will be talked about a lot. They end up winning the game in spite of those decisions. That's one. I didn't like either decision because of you're on the road, who you're playing, the way your defense is playing. I just felt getting 3, and then you would have had 6, and then the interception in the end zone, there's points taken off the board. The Eagles really dominated this game. They dominated time of possession. Their defense dominated the Saints. The Eagles went on the road and dominated this team. But the score suggested that it wasn't a dominating performance. It was dominating. The only thing that wasn't dominant was the fact that your coach held you back. You can't live with that if you're the Eagles' big picture. And I don't know what kind of flight home that is if you're Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie, but you got to be looking down at that field and saying, we should have won this game handily. It shouldn't have come down to the last play. 49ers just scored. Purdy. So if you're watching on the X platform, you can click the video and say something if you want to get your comments up on the screen. And of course, if you're watching on the YouTube platform, you can always just hit the comments and they'll come to us. Trying to build this YouTube channel up. So if you can subscribe to the YouTube channel. Yesterday we did a video and a couple of you subscribed right away. I thank you guys for that. Appreciate everybody, because we're going to try to do more video stuff while we're off the air, while we're at home. I like people at Mike Gill Show giving the game ball to Jeff Stoughton, and they thought the offensive line pretty well. Mike, nothing stood out more than the head coach. Yeah, the decisions the head coach made are going to be certainly criticized, and I'm sure tomorrow my text board is going to have a lot of questions about the coaching decisions, and I got to agree with them this time around. The analytics said go, and I think you should say, listen, there are certain spots in the game, the situation, where we are on the road, defense is playing well. I got to get the points here. And then the 60-yard field goal attempt. Look, I have Jake Elliott on my fantasy team. I need those 8 points for my kicker, but you can't kick that field goal. Not the way your defense is playing. Now, it ends up not, killing this team because they get the win. You know what's funny? It's amazing how different, we said week 2, you fell one way, and now 3 weeks, we went back to the Jets' first 2 games. You're like, that Jet team. Then on Thursday night, you changed your opinion on what you thought of the Jets. Tampa had won 2 games, and they looked terrible today. Tampa looked terrible today. I watched a lot of that game against Denver. Denver went on the road and kicked the crap out of Tampa, and now you're going to Tampa. 2 weeks in, you watch the Saints and said, unstoppable offense. Today, where was the courage from the coaching staff? No shots. They took very few shots down the field. I have Rashid Shaheed on my fantasy team. He got me 0 catches. Thanks for nothing. So that's where we are. Couple quick thoughts. By the way, I've told you guys I would not have drafted Bryce Young. I think he stunk at Alabama. He obviously didn't stink at Alabama, but what I watched at Alabama was not an NFL caliber quarterback. You put an NFL caliber quarterback on the field, Carolina's winning right now, 14-7. Anthony Richardson, no business playing in the NFL right now. They might have skills that if they sat on the bench, practiced, and watched, they might get to that point. Anthony Richardson, no business playing. Caleb Williams, no business playing. Will Levis, no business playing. I'm sure there's more that I'm just not, thinking off the top of my head. But, man, these organizations are killing these kids. And it's not fair to the teams. You got Carolina with Andy Dalton, who's not great, but he's just an NFL quarterback. He's a middle-of-the-road NFL quarterback. Does he have the athleticism and the arm strength of, all these? No. But he's understanding of the game. It's malpractice what these teams are doing. Caleb Williams wanted ownership in a team. Get the hell out of here. Get out of here with that. It's a joke. The systems we've created is a joke. I love watching these kids. Sadly, I hate to say that. I love watching them fail. And I hate to say that the way it is. Like, I love watching these kids, but they're not. They're just handed these things. They're handed these opportunities. Sucks. It sucks for the teams, and it sucks for those kids, too, to be handed these spots. They think it's good for them. It's not good for them. It's not good for them at all. All right, that's just some thoughts there. A wild win. Barkley touchdown with a minute left wins the game. The Barkley run, the Goddard play, the defense was awesome. The Sirianni calls, we're going to talk about them much more at length tomorrow. On 97.3 ESPN, the Sports Bash will be live at Ocean Casino Resort. I hope you can listen, and I hope you can hit the like button, the repost button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and we'll talk to you on the radio.